Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology, and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. Hello and welcome to SciTech Culture. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. How are we today, Steve? We touched on the iPhones last week as a preview to the event, and we're going to touch a little on it again post the event in a couple of different points that we missed last week. So I don't know about you, but pricing is the thing that is the killer. I don't know, they can get away with it because nobody else is offering an alternative that can really compete. I don't know. Like, if Samsung jacked up their price for their Galaxy phones to the same level, do you reckon they'd be able to get away with it?
Look, Apple do higher prices better than anyone else. I mean, it's almost like that's the best feature of the phone. You almost sell it to me on that alone. I'm blown away though. I mean, that's a really, really expensive piece of kit. I've got to say though, I think it's an amazing piece of kit, but it's an expensive piece of kit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to pick up on a point that we said last week, that it's becoming a PC replacement, and particularly I ordered the XS Max because of the sheer
all the
size
way
of
to the top, Ben.
That's right. Well, that's just because I'm my little idiosyncrasies there. I've got to get, if I'm going to start spending 4 digits, I might as well go all the way. I will come back.
Sure, what you're getting is worth it though.
Yeah, of course. And I'm looking forward to seeing what a 6.5-inch screen can do for me, including replacing my laptop with any luck in terms of functionality. One thing I did want to touch on was the iPhone XR, and we'll get to the naming as well because that's bothering me as well. We'll touch on that at the end. But as a phone, the XR to me is an interesting phone to add to the lineup, in the sense that you wouldn't call it a budget phone because it's still pretty damn expensive. But
it's more expensive than the next most expensive phone in the market.
That's right. But you can see that they're really aiming it for the volume customer that maybe is still willing to spend $1,000, because
more than a good laptop price.
Because of course, but the XR, I guess, is sitting in that zone that I guess was being occupied by the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 7 or something like that, but it's still providing the 10 experience, even though it's missing some key features. But the interesting thing is that it's got enough in it, like it's still got the same processor as the XS. Yeah. It's got a big screen, even though the resolution isn't as good as the XS. It's got a lot of things that when you sit down at a functionality perspective, a lot of people would just say, well, I'll just go get that one instead. Because really the XS is really for probably the enthusiasts, I would say, like myself, and for if I want to get the max out of a device like this, or someone who feels like they have the need to have the latest and greatest, so they can have the gold iPhone, that nobody else has, all that sort of stuff.
What does the R stand for?
Well, I don't know. That's all right. Let's get into the naming now. Like, what happened to Apple marketing? Like, I thought that they were really good at this stuff. Their naming conventions are just. I think I was kind of trying to get there with what they were doing in the past. I guess from the 3G. I think when they were going 4S, 5S, 6, 6S. That was. You could kind of get into a pattern, but obviously there was only so much that they could take that. But now they're really awkward naming conventions. It doesn't distract from the functionality of the phone, the quality of the phone, and how much use you'll get out of it. But it just iPhone XS Max, and even though it's a Roman numeral 10, everyone's going to call it iPhone XS Max, and XS is like a word, excess.
Well, it is, and I think that's probably an in-joke at Apple, isn't it? Because and to really get the most out of that phone, you need a 4th-gen iPhone watch. or whatever I watch. And I mean, but we're talking, I mean, jokes aside, because I do think that the price is kind of funny, but that aside, the chipset in this phone is groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And this chipset is like the step up between I think the 4S and the 4 when they first went to the dual chipsets inside a phone. So this is another big step up over the original 10 even, which I think just started moving into this sphere. So this is a very powerful piece of hardware. And if you combine it with something like the watch now, you know, to get a proper ECG that's been like accepted by the medical profession in the US, and some of the fall or slip alarms that you can get through that watch, Apple is now taking all of this to a whole new level.
Yeah, and then
including the price.
Yeah, and that brings and you know, criticisms of the naming conventions and whatever else aside, the pricing and all of that. That's where when we were touching on before we got on, is that it really is, if it wasn't already a PC replacement device, it really will become that for most people. And, you know, like the only reason I can, like, I'm starting to get into a headspace now where I'm starting to think, all right, I want to buy another laptop, but I'm buying it because I'm just an enthusiast that wants another toy in the house. But if I'm actually now starting to think, all right, if you take that aside, if I'm buying it for a purpose, I'm now starting to struggle what that purpose is with a phone that's this powerful. And it's only going to continue to get more powerful as it goes forward with
now.
Your
I had to
models
think about this during the week, exactly what you've said there. But it came back to me as the post-PC era. So we've grown up needing a more powerful desktop/laptop so we can do some video editing or some really amazing graphics or run some sort, you know, stream something more quickly or get a better screen to watch a video. But what I can see now with these e-health applications that Apple's combining is that, you know, and we were speaking about this before. Look, effectively you can edit videos on just a regular phone now anyway, you know, basically. But that capacity there now is something that's almost inherent in a phone anyway. You're taking videos. The next step will be really simple editing software for the videos in your phone. So our uses for PCs and our requirement for power is no longer the same. And what you actually see is when you think about products such as Siri or Alexa, what you're actually seeing is now the integration, the seamless integration of technology in our lives to monitor our health, to give us notifications, to give us alerts, to keep us connected. And really the processing power is now hidden in these new features and these new functions, which are going to become more and more important to us, I guess, in the future. Maybe for the next generation, not for you, not for you or me, Ben.
Yeah, because we're still going to hang on to our keyboards and mice for some time. The other thing I wanted to touch on, maybe just coming back to the price point thing, is despite the fact that Apple seemingly has abolished the iPhone SE, so now the cheapest phone is $100 more than what it was the day before. Because the iPhone 7 is now the base, starting entry model. It's interesting that they've gone down a path of, and again, this is where the naming conventions are funny, because you look at, there's no obvious progression in terms of the naming, but obviously you take that aside and just accept that you've got like 4 levels of phone in effect, and they're all hitting different price points. But the question is, are they doing that enough to kind of hit all the market points? But my suspicion, of course, in looking at the pricing structure, is that they're cutting off, the mid-tier and below. Anyone that is sort of buying in that price range, it's still, even from the bottom level at iPhone 7, you're still needing to shell out a big chunk of change just to buy into the Apple iPhone experience, so to speak.
Well, I guess if you want a cheap phone, you buy the SE.
But that's no longer available now.
Isn't it? I hadn't realised that. So I guess they're going to bring out or are they just going to let you buy a 6S or a 7?
No, the 7's the bottom. So that it's $100 more expensive than what the SE was before they killed it. So, and that's what I mean. It's like they're still not wanting to let go of this idea that no, you got to spend a bit more with us because we're just that much better.
Well, it's interesting you say this. It's not really cost that's keeping me away from Apple, but the only thing that would bring me back to Apple is a compact phone, and the SE would have been that phone.
The small experience, in other words.
Yeah, because I'm one of those few, and we're probably not that much in number, but I reckon there's probably at least 10% of the market, which for Apple is not insubstantial, that just want a small phone.
Yeah.
And because of that, I need an iPad because my phone's too small. And Apple's never been afraid to cannibalize its own markets. But for you now, I would say, with your new device, will you need an iPad? That'll be the interesting question.
Only on those flights to China where the Chinese carriers don't let you use your phone on the flight. Having said that, it might be interesting if they release a iPhone 10 version of the SE, so like in the same body, but it's all screen. So it ends up becoming like a 5-inch phone within that body in effect. And that might be something that it's been speculated that they've been working on that, but it'd be good to maybe have that in the lineup as well.
I'm sure that might only be, March next year away or something like that when they bring something out like that to surprise us and also give us a little bit of relief, because I'm sure there's people out there who love iPhones, but this latest pricing scheme makes it very, very tough.
Exactly. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there, and I guess the next set of episodes will be filmed off the new XS Max, and we'll see what it can do.
I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. All right, so don't forget to check out our website, scitechculture.com. You can get all of our links and content there. Subscribe to our Vimeo and YouTube channels, and you can hook into our RSS feeds, listen to us on your phones, etc. And we hope you appreciate all the content we've got up there. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.